Nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
Welcome into Southwest Bias, live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle today by downloading the Circle K app. And yeah, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And last night, you may or may not have seen it, but Deandre Ayton, former Suns center, agreed to a buyout with the Portland Trail Blazers. And as I often do when news breaks, I headed to Twitter to see what the Twitter streets had to say. And I saw multiple people asking poor Gerald Bourguet if the Suns would be interested in a reunion with Deandre Ayton. Common sense screamed no. Then Gerald's reporting screamed it too. But what hit me is the fact that I think some of us as Suns fans are holding on to that feeling from the 2021 team and thinking we can recapture it simply by trying to bring guys back. Trying to bring a Deandre Ayton. Trying to figure out a way to trade for a Cam Johnson or trade for a Mikal Bridges. I hate to say it, but that time's passed. And there's no recapturing that specific magic. There's no way to make things feel like they did. You may get to those heights again. It may feel different. You may have as much enjoyment or as excitement, but that is gone and in the past. And I think that's where it needs to stay. Now, reports over the weekend came out as well that a reunion with Chris Paul is possible if Tyus Jones decides, to go elsewhere in free agency. I think that Chris Paul's leadership would make sense. I think Chris Paul, the individual, was a good man who helped change the direction of the franchise when he first came here. He showed that players of a certain caliber wanted to come play with Devin Booker. And I appreciated that because that changed the narrative around the Suns. And while I think it could help thread that needle between competing now and setting you up for the future, the more I think about it, I wonder if it's the right thing. Because if the Suns are committed to playing Jalen Green and Devin Booker in a backcourt, and then they just re-signed Colin Gillespie, is Chris Paul going to get the minutes that he deserves and that he's going to want? There's not a starting job. There's going to be shared minutes in a backup role. Is it the right fit? Sure, I'd love to recapture that feeling. I'd love to see him and Devin Booker playing the way that they did, and him trying to be the guy that hits those pick and rolls with some of these young big men in Nick Williams and Kaman Malawach. But is it the right move? I really, really don't know. And I'm leaning towards probably not. We're going to get into how little the Suns have in terms of roster flexibility outside of trades going into free agency today. And I feel like with that little flexibility, that maybe Chris Paul isn't the guy. And Chris wants to play closer to his family in LA. There's two LA teams, maybe that are arguably closer to winning than the Suns. I mean, you could debate that depending on how you feel, but I think they probably are. And wouldn't it make more sense for him to look at those as a possible destination? I loved what Chris Paul did. I loved the thought of him being a mentor But I don't know the Suns give Chris Paul what he needs. And maybe moving on is the best thing to do, right? I think he fits, right? It's not that he doesn't fit from a player perspective. He does, and what he'd be able to do on the floor would help in terms of that. I just don't know that if you have an eye to the future and you've signed Colin Gillespie to a 1-year deal, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way to go. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and I know people want to go back, right? I know people want to feel like there's something there that it ties you to that amazing run. I know that people look at it and feel that CP3 has a winning instinct, and that's not wrong, but I don't know that it's going to happen. If I'm Chris Paul, I'm looking elsewhere in terms of being able to win and being able to play closer to my family. I'm just trying to tamper the expectations because people saw that yesterday, and everybody got, Chris Paul. Even I got caught up in it because certain aspects of it make a lot of sense. I just don't know that it's going to happen. And I know that a lot of people want it because of nostalgia. But I don't know that that's a good enough reason. And I don't think that that's part of what the Suns front office is going to be looking at. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. We welcome in the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach, onto the program. Shane, how was your weekend?
It was okay. It was fine.
That's good. I was single this weekend. Not that my wife left me, but she left me physically to go on vacation. So I binge watched a bunch of stuff and cleaned. Good? Yeah. I watched Hacks. I watched Daredevil Born Again, which I hadn't watched, and then I binge watched the latest episodes of Rick and Morty. So
nice,
real nerdy male weekend for me with cleaning as well. Played a little golf too and sucked. So
nice.
Do you want Chris Paul back?
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial to both parties. Well, it depends on what Chris Paul's other options are.
That's my thing.
Like everyone's saying the Lakers, and sure that makes sense for being in LA, but I don't know how much he helps that team immediately with Luka there, and LeBron probably out the door. And even if LeBron does come back and he signed Chris Paul, those are 3 ball dominant guys. It seems a little weird. And the championship window, I don't know.
I mean, okay, I guess it depends. Does Chris Paul care about getting that ring at this point? I don't mean he doesn't want to win, but ring chasing. Does he care?
I would hope so.
Why would you come to Phoenix at this point? I mean, we're not kidding ourselves. This isn't a championship team this year.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's not.
It's just not. And I'd love to tell you it is, but I'd be lying straight to your faces, and that's not what we do on this program. As I knock something on, Nacho in the chat says, don't you think that it would be beneficial for him at this point in his career? Less minutes is less workload, so he's fresh for the playoffs, Espo. It seems like a huge positive. And yeah, I mean, I get that. And look, I love the positive attitude that this is a playoff team, right? I love that thought, but I just wonder about that. And look, Chris Paul isn't the Chris Paul that left here, right? He's still good, but he's not to the level that the point guard was, right? And I think he could come in and help, but I also think you've got Colin Gillespie on a 1-year deal. You got to determine, is he part of your future? Could he actually be a point guard? I think they add one more, and maybe it is Tyus Jones. I don't know. There's a couple other options out there. I just want to not have everybody get excited that Chris Paul's going to come back and be some massive answer to some question that this team has. Do I think he could help them with leadership? Yeah, probably. I just, is less minutes better for him at this point in his career? Of course. There's a lot of questions left for it for me. And I think, I'm not saying I don't want him. I look at it and I say, does it make total sense for both sides? And I'm not sure. I really don't. So, that's just where I'm standing on it. There's a lot coming up. It's obviously NBA free agent day, the legal tampering period, which might be the stupidest term in all of sports. How do you legally tamper with something? It's either tampering or it's okay, but it's what they call it. Legal tampering starts today at 3 p.m. for the Suns and the rest of the NBA. But what does it mean? And what can the Suns actually do today and in free agency with where they sit? All that, much more. It's Southwest Bias. We'll be right back. I was sitting here after Outside Shots with Saul Bookman and Eddie Johnson, and two of my favorite guys. And they started complaining about a golf bet that they had made with each other, and one of them not wanting to pay the other. And look, I'd love to sit here and tell you who it was, but I don't do that, right? I'm not going to spread their business, but I did say, hey, VMe could have solved all your issues. Make the bet in the app between each other, and then the payment is going to happen right there in the app. None of this, hey, do you got cash? Hey, 3 weeks later, can you pay me? Hey, I forgot we made that bet. I don't know that we made that bet. Do I really owe you $50? No, VMe is here to help you take care of that. One-on-one bets, fantasy bets. We got fantasy football season coming up. You may need a platform for that. They've got you covered. So download the VMe app today and play today using the promo code PHNX. Available on the App Store and Google Play. VMe, anywhere, anyone, anything, anytime. And my friends at All Pro Shade Concepts. Look, I was in my kitchen yesterday cleaning. I know it's crazy. My wife probably doesn't even believe it either, but there's footage on our Ring Cam, so she can check it out. But yeah, I was cleaning the kitchen, and we've got an All Pro Shade Concept shade on the giant sliding glass door. I've told you about it. It was so much cooler there than it was in other parts of my house where the windows were open. Because according to them, the 20 degrees cooler is what these can do for you. They've got hundreds of colors, durable material, unbelievable customer service. I was floored at how great they were to work with. They came out, free estimate, showed me all the materials. I was sold. And then they came out and the installation was super easy. It was unbelievable. They've been in business here in town for 20 years. So help them celebrate their 20th anniversary by calling them at 623-204-1476 to get a free estimate. Or if you don't like to talk to somebody on the phone, you can go to allproshadeconcepts.com. And yeah, we were talking Suns offseason and the fact that the legal tampering period starts today. And I thought, you know what? We got to look at things here and make it clear where this team stands, right? So I don't expect a big splash, right? The last few years, we've gotten a lot of things out of the gate, right? We've gotten signings with names that were recognizable that on veteran minimums. Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee, Monte Morris, Tyus Jones, Drew Eubanks. People got excited by guys with potential like Keita Bates-Diop and Yuta Watanabe. I was right there with you because they were trying to fill out a bench, didn't have a lot of young guys and didn't have a lot of options. All they could do was the veteran minimum. So these things came in fast and furious because they knew they had to get these guys locked up. I don't expect the same thing today. And there's multiple reasons for it. First off, they did most of their heavy lifting last week. Go back and look at it and how much they turned over the roster, how they built depth, and what they accomplished in the draft. That was the large portion of your offseason, right? And then re-signing Colin Gillespie was another part of it. And the first thing you have to look at with this is looking at where the Suns stand in terms of the apron. Shane, do we have that graphic showing where these numbers are? These were from Bobby Marks prior to the report that Cody Martin will not be picked up, but they're $35 million above the tax. They're $28.5 million above the first apron and $17 million above the second apron. I think they're about $12 million if they get rid of Cody Martin officially above that second apron. You know what that means? They're handcuffed. And again, you only have veteran minimums available at this point. That's all you can do in terms of contracts. So yeah, maybe you bring a Tyus Jones back on a veteran minimum. Maybe it is CP3, right? Maybe it is a guy of that ilk that is, towards the end of his career, but wants to continue to play. Russell Westbrook, another name that people have thrown out of interest. But that's kind of the pond you're fishing in again. And if you take a look at the roster, Shane, if we have that graphic, you're going to see this team has 14 players under contract right now, 15 being the roster total. Obviously, they have those 3 two-way contracts, but that's going to be younger guys with potential, but still need some seasoning in the G League, as we've seen. So one roster spot as we sit right now. And to me, you look at it and you go, okay, you need a second point guard, like we've discussed. You could use a wing with size. Maybe that's what you're looking at with that spot. But it's not going to be some large amount of signings, even at the veteran minimum. And I don't think you're going to get a whole lot out of the gate today. There's a few other things this team needs to figure out. They picked up Nick Richards' $5 million option last night. That's official. So he's on the roster. And I think they're looking at trades, and if they can get enough out of a Nick Richards trade, they'll probably make the move. But I imagine that market is at least in a holding pattern until teams figure out what the surprise free agent Deandre Ayton does. If they can't find a trade, I think the Suns are happy keeping Nick Richards as the third center, especially not knowing what Malawak will bring, and with Mark Williams' injury history. I think they definitely would be all right with having Nick Richards on this roster. So you're sitting at 14. You go, okay, what are the other moves? Well, there's reporting that Royce O'Neal, and Grayson Allen actually aren't going to be dealt. That was from John Gambadoro, and we know his track record. So the only other guy you're looking at is Bradley Beal. And I hate to burst your bubble, but I really don't think there's some trade that's going to save this team. And if there is, you're going to bring in a bad contract on the other side, and you're still going to have the roster crunch. I think the only thing that's going to help this team is if you buy out Bradley Beal. It'll put you under the aprons. It'll open up a mid-level exception, which makes it more interesting in terms of what point guards you could go after, what potential bigs you could go after. It changes the dynamic for you, as well as keeping you from winding up in that area where you lock your first-round picks coming up. Bradley Beal, though, has to be an active participant. And everything we heard over the weekend, a report from Fred Katz of The Athletic, said that he's happy in Phoenix. And maybe he'd consider a trade if something came up, but he's happy in Phoenix. I'm not sure he's going to give up, I think it's like $18 million that he'd have to give up over the life of the contract to actually help the Suns. It's a weird negotiating issue that the Suns find themselves in. And I don't think this is a quick fix. Maybe it is. Maybe Bradley Beal just decides, you know what, being relegated to the bench or whatever is being, talked about. I mean, hell, Bobby Marks, I believe it was suggesting they should just send Bradley Beal home and from the team and continue to pay him while he's away. Do the old Jay Crowder trick and eventually maybe trade him. Like, I don't think there's an easy answer here when it comes to Bradley Beal, but I think a buyout's probably the best case scenario for you. And unless LeBron James is like, Phoenix is the only place I'm going to go, and Bradley Beal decides that LA and the Lakers sound like a really good opportunity for him. But guess what? Dreaming's free, but that's not, one that I think is going to come to fruition. I mean, it sounds fun. Just like Chris Paul coming back sounds fun. I just don't know. There's I think a less than zero chance that would happen, right? I think this is going to take time to navigate, and that's going to keep you handcuffed in terms of your flexibility in this free agent market. Now, maybe I'm shocked. Maybe they get some kind of buyout, or they find some some GM that is willing to do something really dumb in a city that Bradley Beal really likes. I don't think that happens today, but maybe it does, and maybe I'm surprised. But that's the reality of where the Suns are. 14 guys on the roster, only veteran minimums available to them. I don't see a lot of movement coming today, and I don't want people to be disappointed because you got all that movement last week, right? You completely changed your roster and put yourself in a situation where you're deeper, you're younger, you're more defensive, and you're more athletic. And I think that that's where we stand right now. Maybe you get a point guard right away. I just don't see it. But Shane, what do you make of the situation that the Suns are in? I think they find a way to figure out how to jettison a shooting guard, but I think it's probably Bradley Beal in a buyout eventually.
Yeah, I think that's probably your only option. I think the dream of being able to trade him is a far-fetched one. I don't know who takes that, it wouldn't make sense for any team.
No, and what asset are you tying to it anymore? You don't have a first-round pick you can trade anymore with everything that's gone through.
You're going to trade Nick Richards for 2 seconds, and you're going to package those 2 seconds with Bradley Beal and get what?
You're going to get another bad contract.
Get Paul George?
Yeah, you want to flip him for Paul George? Does that fix anything? I mean, no. You put yourself in a similar situation, and you got longer money with Paul George. I mean, you're going to wind up with somebody else's problem contract or contracts. And maybe you get multiple and it's easier to move, no trade clause. But I don't see another GM doing that right now, right? I don't disagree with Cool Joe in the chat that Beal has to go. I just don't think there's an easy path to make it happen, right? I think that he's going to have to agree to leave money on the table for a buyout, and the Suns are going to have to play hardball to get there, and that's where it is. And do you really you can't trade players right now with Bradley Beal because you're locked in because of the second apron. So, and the other factor when it comes to free agency right now is a bunch of those deals that they made aren't done. They're not going to be done until the moratorium's lifted, right? So, I mean, maybe they change their mind on a Grayson or a Royce and they traded somebody with cap space as as one of the chatters mentioned, our biased group in there. I think that's what we're going to call them, the biased, as I knock over my Tom Tupa card yet again. But so this is going to be, I think, a pretty quiet first day. Shane, I heard that you may have something to wrap up the show today for me.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do another hot take cannon on this fine Monday.
Oh, a hot take cannon.
For those of you who don't know, I fire off a bunch of random things at Espo, and he has to give me a hot take on them. And it could be something that's real or it could be something that's fake.
Do you not have the full screen moving cannon anymore? Did we never have that?
No, we never had that.
Well, can you make a cannon sound just to make me feel better? All right, we'll use that. There's your cannon sound. What do we got, Shane? What are my hot taking on?
The first thing that we're going to talk about is glow sticks.
Glow sticks in what setting?
In all settings.
With my daughter and having fun with her, sure. Glow sticks are great. I don't club anymore, so that's not on my radar overall. Other than that, I don't see a need for a glow stick. None whatsoever. I got the flashlight on my phone, so I don't need it to see anything. And what are the use of it? It's just a bunch of weird chemicals and plastic that you wind up throwing away, which I can't imagine is healthy for the earth. And now I sound like a hippie. So yeah, I'm out on glow sticks, Shane.
Cookie jars that are, I guess there's not really, like cookie jars that are modeled after characters. So
I'm all in. Like the Pillsbury Doughboy cookie jar? Like a Cookie Monster cookie? Me love cookie.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm all in on fun cookie jars, right? Because that means there's cookies on your counter. And it's never bad when cookies are on your counter. Sure, I can't eat them anymore, but it's never bad when there's cookies on your counter. And those things are made for kids, right? Now if you're a middle-aged single person with a bunch of character cookie jars, I may have some questions for you. I may have a lot of questions for you. But, when there's kids involved, if you're a grandparent, I love character cookie jars and cookies on the counter. Never a bad thing.
Sailboats.
out. Like here particularly, do I need a sailboat on Tempe Town Lake? Do I need a sailboat on Lake Pleasant? Like, no, I'm good without sailboats, right? And you ever watch Tommy Boy? You can get stuck in the middle of a lake if there's no wind. And then you got a bunch of kids on the shore yelling at you, making fun of you because of your weight when you're on a date with a lady. Nobody wants that. Chris Farley didn't deserve that just because there was no wind. I'm out on sailboats of any kind, rinky-dink ones or big ones. I'm out.
I love sailboats.
So is my father-in-law, so that take might get me in a little trouble. But I'm out on sailboats.
Wow. Toothpicks.
Toothpicks are tough because they're multi-purposed, right? You can use it to pick stuff out of your teeth, or you can use it to clean things. Keyboard, you got something in your keyboard, you're cleaning your shower or whatever, those tiny grooves, that you have in tile. Like there's all sorts of things. If I'm looking just at simply picking my teeth, I'm out. I want one of those tiny flossers that I got that have the little nub thing on the end that I can use. But I'm always afraid with toothpicks and wood toothpicks. What am I gonna get a splinter? Well, what if this thing fractures while I'm doing this? So I'm out on toothpicks for picking my teeth. Give me a flosser, but I'm in on toothpicks for cleaning purposes and little crevices that you can use them on.
Ocean themed bathrooms.
Ooh, I grew up with my parents having an ocean themed bathroom. Mother painted a mural. There were fish on the walls. It was something to behold, and I have fond memories of having to use that bathroom when I was a kid. But as an adult, I don't like them. I do not like ocean themed bathrooms. I don't want to feel like I'm at the ocean taking a crap, right? Like I don't want to feel like I'm going to feel like somebody's on the beach. Where am I going to the bathroom on this beach? Am I a cat? Is this a litter box? No, I don't want to feel like I'm at the beach. All right? I am out on ocean themed bathrooms.
I'm offended by that.
Do you have an ocean themed bathroom?
Well, I have a nautical themed bathroom.
Okay, nautical. Is it more like boat themed?
It's almost pirate themed.
Okay, pirate theme's fine.
Okay,
right? You're sitting there. You're like, hey, I'm on a pirate ship.
Yeah.
Like there's something fun about being on a pirate ship, right? But I don't need nautical.
I have my towel, my hand towel, it's screwed into like a knot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really nice. What else do I have? Oh, I have two seagulls in different paintings that are looking opposite ways. Did
you turn your bathtub into a boat? Did you put like a facade of a boat
that'd be
on
great.
That's if you go that way, if you go all in, I'm 100% in on your pirate bathroom.
Last one, going over the salary cap and going into the first or second apron.
I'm in. Because I feel like that shows you want to win. Whether it works or not, I feel like it shows that you have a commitment to winning. And I think that's what everybody wants. You want an owner that's willing to blow $250 million in an attempt to win. Now you want it to work, but I'm all for that, right? And the Suns proved last week. Everybody's like, they got no assets. They can't do anything in a draft. They're screwed for a decade. And then they make some savvy moves, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, they got a bunch of young talent, and the second apron didn't mean crap. Like, I'm all in. Spend the money, try to win. By the way, Pocket Lint says, dang, I just tuned in out of Saul and EJ picking fights with each other, but now I'm listening to Espo picking fights with random objects. Fun day for pods. That's right. And I may have picked some fights with people that wanted CP3 back. That is another edition of Southwest Bias Live. Thank you to the mustache behind the Mac at Shane Diefenbach. Follow him at Shane Dief. You can follow me at Espo. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports. And remember, just because you used to like something doesn't mean you should bring it back. Ahoy, hoy!
We all silly like the mayor.